Tonight on She Say, He Say, Will and Jada, have they got this love thing all figured out? And if we're not monogamous by nature, should we implement hall passes in every relationship? Who should get them, men or women? All tonight on She Say, He Say.
Right? Where you get into that space when you realize you are literally with somebody for the rest of your life. There's no deal breakers. There's nothing she could do, ever. Nothing that would break our relationship. She has my support till death. Right. You know what I mean?
Hey family, thank you guys for joining us again on another episode of She Say, He Say. Tonight we got Tyrone with us again. He's sitting in, representing for the men this evening. Tonight's show is about what's been in the news lately, Will and Jada. So essentially what we're talking about is we're talking about the love that Will and Jada have. And the question that I have for the group tonight is, has Will and Jada figured it out? Have they mastered what everybody's been trying to master in regard to unconditional love, right? I think that's very important in today's in this day and age with relationships. What do you ladies think about it?
Well, honestly, I feel like if I have to narrow it down, I want that Will and Jada love. I mean, because at the end of the day, as many times as you've seen them in the media, talking about their relationships, talking about their ups, their downs, they always figure out a way to come together. And that to me means everything. Because when you're in a relationship, you want to be able to, at the end of the day, be like, this is my best friend. This is somebody that I can lean on. This is somebody I can go to and talk to no matter what the situation is, good or bad. So I think that they mastered it.
Okay. All right. I mean, just in my opinion, what they have is, I mean, it's evolutionary, right? I mean, it's something that we all hope to have, but I don't think any of us truly have the courage to have it. Because, I mean, you have to be truly courageous to say that we're life partners, right? So I'm going to add a clip to the show this evening where Will is literally talking about how they don't consider themselves as being married anymore. They consider themselves to be life partners. That just simply means that no matter what happens in this particular relationship, we're going to be together. There are absolutely positively no deal breakers. And he talks about how freeing that is. But to me, that's courage. You got to be crazy courageous to be able to say that, because every relationship that we have has a condition on it. Yeah, it has a condition on it. So I think that they have figured it out, and it's definitely something that I want, right? Even though they've taken a lot of heat in the media, the memes are out of hand.
Oh my God.
You know, did someone say August? You know, I mean, the memes are out of hand right now.
I've posted several of those myself.
Yes. Yes, the memes are out of hand. But as we laugh and we make jokes, the reality of it is we need to really celebrate, in my opinion, we need to celebrate what it is that we're seeing. We're seeing a couple who are courageous enough to say, hey, I'm with him or I'm with her, no matter what.
Standing the test of time.
Definitely.
Right.
I mean, it still comes down. Main question is, do you want the Will and Jada love? That's what everybody asks. For years, everyone said that. I still do. They're still together. I want to have that unconditional love, but I don't think I'm in a place to accept that in my life right now. Okay. Like, I still got conditions. There's things I'm not willing to accept. Okay. So I know I can't be on their level right now, but like goals for the future, I would like to be able to have something like that.
Relationship goals.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. I think that everybody would like to obtain that unconditional love. But as of now, I feel like we all have conditions. Because even the highest form of love, when people say, oh, I get married, that's what they consider the highest form. Even that has conditions, because if you mess up, you can get divorced, and things can happen financially, emotionally, anything can happen from there.
At least I'm honest with myself and know that I'm not ready for that kind of thing just yet.
Right, 100%. And because anything can happen, that means that there are conditions. Because otherwise, nothing could have happened.
I have to say, I don't know if it's just me. I just live in in a bubble that I feel like I can create that. I feel like with the right person and the right conversations and the right trust and the right stability, I can create that world. And the reason why I say that mostly is because I almost created it for the wrong person. But that was because I'll take that on as a notch. It was my fault. I didn't vet the relationship the right way. I didn't take the precautions needed to be taken to know that this was going to be my forever love. Right. And so at the end of the day, I have to take that on. I was wrong in that scenario. And a lot of the time you have to learn how to grow with each other. And if you're both not already in the same place or mindset, then you can't grow properly. But I think I could definitely take on that task.
Right. Definitely. I think with that, I think the most important piece of that is love, right? Because, and here's what I mean by that. I think no matter what transgressions me and my wife have, I think as long as we're feeling loved throughout that process, as long as you can say that you're not absent from the marriage, or you're not absent from the relationship, right? We're still in tune. We're still making love. We're still having a good time. We're still laughing. We're still joking, right? But there's been some type of transgression. As long as the love is still there, as long as I still feel like you love me, or as long as I still feel like your heart is here, I can forgive, I think, most transgressions. I think it's everything that comes along with most transgressions nowadays. I think it's the lying. I think it's the deceit. I think it's the stolen moments outside of the home or whatever that may be, right? So I think that you're not only are you dealing with the actual incident, but you're also dealing with everything that came along with it.
I think there are different kinds of love, though, because you can definitely be taken, like you said, you can definitely be taken advantage of with unconditional love if somebody else has an opposing kind of love.
Exactly.
Because for me, even in my personal relationship, I had to learn that, hey, it's not all financial. It's not all just making sure that my household is good. It's actually I have to be there emotionally. I have to be there in any type of way. She was looking for a different type of love that I was looking for in the beginning. We've grown. I've adjusted. She's adjusted, and she's accepted my love, and I'm accepting hers. So it really depends on how it's perceived, because let's say you and me were together and I'm taking care of the household, I'm paying all the bills, I'm thinking, yo, I'm doing good, I'm loving you, that's it. Kids are good, everybody is straight. But you could be feeling lonely. You could be feeling hurt. Very true. Still, because I'm not fulfilling your kind of love.
Exactly.
That comes down to love languages. We've talked about it a few times. If your love languages don't line up, or at least you don't acknowledge your partner's love languages, it will never work.
Right.
Exactly.
It all comes down to trust, communication, and also accepting that we are human and people still make mistakes. I think that's how you would achieve that, marriage and relationship with no deal breakers.
Right.
But trust is your most important one, because once you break that, it's all bets are off, because I can't trust you for nothing now. Like, how can you do that? Because now I'm going to question everything you do because you lied in this one instant. I'm going to wonder.
Exactly.
So it's like, how can I still give you that unconditional love when I'm worried about that?
I mean, but that's what it all boils down to. Why we brought up Will and Jada, is because no matter what the situation, they still come back together. So they still are able to work out those lies, the infidelity, the not understanding their love language. They are able to still sit down together and be able to communicate that.
Definitely. So, hey, great conversation. Team, we'll be right back. All right, everybody. Thank you and welcome back. More great conversation. So, team, here's the next question. All right. What does it take right now for us to get to the point where we're able, what type of growth does it take for us to get to the point where we're able to have that type of love, to have the type of love where there's no deal breakers? We're okay to be together forever, no matter what mistakes you make. What do you think the type of growth it is that we're looking for, Don?
Okay. Now, I know I already said that I'm not at that point. I'm not ready. So for me personally, I think it'd be trust. Trust is one of my biggest things. I feel like trust in most of my past relationships has been the first thing that was broken. So if I could find me someone that I could trust and it gave me no complication, I think I could be more open to be able to do that. Like, that's the barrier that I have to be able to break through to get over. Because I'll question everybody right now. Okay, you tell me, it's morning and I have to look outside and make sure. I need to know. because people just really lie for no reason at this point in life, from what I've noticed. But that's one of mine. I think that's probably a lot of people's too. Is trust is the biggest thing, because I think trust is your foundation for any kind of relationship. So if you can have that, I think you can definitely get to that point.
Interesting. I really think we need to become more students of humanity. I honestly don't think trust is the first thing. I think we need to become more students of humanity and human nature, our origins, who we are, what we were traditionally, and what we still are that we mask with our societal norms, right? All right, so now we about to get real deep. But I honestly think for us to progress, I think we need to strip each other down to just bare science. Who we are as people. What does a man consist of? What does a woman consist of? If we're talking about that type of love, if we're talking about that type of relationship, right? And I think I've been doing some research, and looking at the research that I found, it speaks. Now this is a quote. The quote said that by their nature, men are polygamous. Is what it said. This is science. This is not me. But we live in a society that says polygamy is wrong. So what happens is off the bat, we're asking men to forgo their nature. You're asking people to forgo who they are from the day they're born, because this is the type of relationship that you're going to be in. I think if we really want to progress as people, I think what we need to do is just strip everything down to who we are, period, as men and as women. What is in our nature, what is not in our nature. And then once we begin to realize what our nature is, I think we can begin to love people where they're at. We can begin to love people for what they are as opposed to what we want them to be. What you think, Ash?
I truly believe that there's several parts of this. Like, you have to love yourself. You have to be able to understand and love and be fruitful within inside of you. You have to be able to strip you down first and be able to be like, I love everything about me. I know what I'm worth. I know who I am. I know what I'm willing to take on, what I'm not willing to take on. And then you find that person that is compatible with that. And then when you say strip down societal norms, first of all, that's one of the biggest things we need to learn how to do. F society. Like, what makes you happy? Again, comes back to you. What makes you happy? Because if you keep on running around town thinking that what Susie across the street thinks, then you're never going to be happy. If you're going to worry about what Bobby down the street thinks, you're never going to be happy. You have to be able to find what makes you happy with inside yourself, and then find that person that complements that exact thing, and you complement that exact thing for that person, and then together, y'all can come together and be like, you're dope, I'm dope, let's be dope together. And then period. Forget what everybody else is thinking, your mama, your daddy, your uncles, and whoever's around you, because they're not in your marriage. They're not in your company. This is between you two.
Right. No, I definitely agree with what you're saying in that it's definitely self-love. If I kind of specify a little bit on, let's say, mistakes happen. So, for example, we're talking about infidelity, right? I do feel like infidelity beats down that self-esteem and a sense of belonging into a relationship, which then cause it can then cause trust issues. It can then cause even lack of faith in your own judgment. It can cause, well, as you just mentioned, actually, it can really bring everything into question. Like, what did I do wrong? Who am I? What are we working towards? Because that happened. And that emotional toll in infidelity can break that relationship. Because now it's not necessarily that you're in the relationship to work towards that relationship. You're in that relationship to even figure yourself out and figure out why you are in that relationship. And most people just cannot deal or work past it, even though that they say they can. They say, oh, I can forgive, but then next month when I go out to the club with my girl and somebody looks at me, be like, oh, that, you know what I mean? Something's happened again.
Exactly.
That
Now
means
it becomes tit for tat, and you're trying to compete, and it's a never-ending cycle because maybe theirs wasn't as big as your infidelity. So now it's like, oh.
Yes. So now the relationship is toxic. You know what I mean? So those things, it's hard. It's hard to say like, hey, we can just you can just do whatever and I'm going to be okay with it. Like, can you emotionally handle that?
But I think at the end of the day, it's not even about being emotionally able to handle that. It's more so about being able to. Okay, so like you said, you're in a club, and if your significant other doesn't feel comfortable enough to come home to you and be like, "Oh yeah, there was this dude that I found, attractive," or da da da, then that's when you get the lies. That's when you get the deceit. That's when you get all that. But if you guys are comfortable with each other, you have these conversations. You come home to her and be like, "Oh, babe, I seen this girl. She had a fatty, da 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 da," and she's cool. And then you'll feel more comfortable with bringing or presenting more things to her. You'll feel more comfortable opening up to her, and then you don't have those barriers and those deceits and the lies and because y'all feel comfortable within y'all's relationship to have that. And I know it sounds far-fetched, but there's some people out here that are okay with living that life. And you just got to find that person.
You're right. I mean, and I think to speak to what both of you are saying, I think in this particular case, they went into that relationship with unreasonable expectations. They didn't have real conversations in the beginning.
Right.
And I think the biggest problem with it is when you're talking about, Ash, let's focus on what works for us. If everybody entered a relationship with that in mind, let's focus on what works for us. Because the divorce rate in the United States is 40 to 50%. Infidelity being number one, right? What works for you? What works for me? If I meet a woman tells me, "Hey, look, I dig you. I want to be with you. You're the man that I want for the rest of my life. However, from time to time, I might want to play." Right? She was honest with me. She was honest with me up front,
right?
And now I can handle that particular situation accordingly.
Exactly.
Right.
So I would then say, let's say for internal growth, what would we need? I would say honesty within itself.
That's
Amen.
it.
You know what I mean? Because if you have honesty within yourself, then you can literally say, okay, I can handle this. But most people are not honest with themselves.
That's it.
That's
it.
the thing.
Being honest with yourself first and honest with your partner second. Right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Honesty and trust.
Hey, way to go, family. We'll be right back. All right. So we hit a little milestone there. We kind of.
Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's real. That's real. But no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Every relationship you get into, you lie.
I believe I
Everybody.
had coronavirus.
Yeah, man.
I
What's
know
your
my
name?
coronavirus was here.
KT?
Because last week
You
I
lied
was
to get in a
all off.
relationship,
Like,
Yeah, see,
my
everybody
brain.
lie. Yeah, it's the truth, man. We lie going in, and that's
everybody does.
Right, but like what you
Me?
said, it was
Hey,
one of you
include
guys
me.
said the being up front. I told my girl up front, like, I'm very territorial. There are instances where I'm gonna snap, and
Okay.
there was just a bunch of things I listed.
But you let her know up
Letting them know
front.
up front is
Just
will solve a
'cause
lot of problems.
later down the road, because I know from previous, I learned I did all that. She didn't like it, then she up and dipped. I can't be mad at her.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
because
All right, welcome back. Let's get a little deeper in this particular conversation. So where we're at right now, team, is we're just talking about should we, since we know the nature of the human being sometimes, is to want a different experience from time to time. And oftentimes it may just simply be a physical experience, a sexual experience. Should we implement a hall pass in a relationship? What do you think about that?
I say this. I say it works for some people, but if you ask me, if it boils down to what I've been saying the whole time, if it boils down to you guys communicate, y'all trust each other, you have that love, then you don't even need a hall pass, because you're not feeding into social norms. You're not worried about if your man's out here running around doing this or that. All you're worried about is if he's making you happy. And if he puts a smile on your face. So why do I need to give you a hall pass if we're happy? If you're not out here bringing back anything, you're not hurting me, you're not putting me down, I'm not paying for this other woman, I'm not paying for this other person, there's no reason for me to be stressed out or worried about giving you a hall pass or you running around or you having to need somebody else. Like, we're happy together. Just let's be in happiness.
Oh, nice. I'm digging that, man, because ultimately that's what it's about. I mean,
Right.
You're happy.
You're happy.
You're absolutely positively happy with the relationship itself, right? he or she is fulfilling every commitment that you guys made in the beginning. Exactly. We had a conversation in the beginning. I'm not going to police you. You're not going to police me. But I must be happy at all times in this particular relationship. And as long as I'm happy, then all else is fine. That's a very evolved way of thinking.
It is.
I like that, and I dig it. And I really feel the same way. I think I was referencing a book that I was reading, The People's History of America, where when Columbus actually first hit the West Indies, he noticed that the Iroquois were sharing women. Women were able to go be with any man, and there was no anger. There was no jealousy because that was their culture, right? Typically, we're the only creatures in nature who are monogamous, right? Most creatures in nature are polygamous creatures. Ultimately, what we're trying to do with, in my opinion, with the nature of man, we're trying to put the square peg in a round hole. And we're at a 50% divorce rate oftentimes because we refuse to evolve. We refuse to change. We refuse to see things differently. So I think if it's only the physical act, right? I don't want to give up my wife's love at all.
Yeah.
I want her love to be for me and for me only. I want her to love me, right? But if evolution says that I have to give up the physicality, the physical act, but her love stays home, I'm ready to deal with that, right? I'm ready to deal with that to be absolutely free. What Will Smith said in the clip is it's totally freeing knowing that no matter what happens, she's coming home.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm ready for that freedom as long as her love stays home.
That's fair.
You know what? And I have to say this real quick. I'm so sorry. But do understand everything that I'm saying is with the person that I've had that real conversation with. We really broke it down. I'm not just talking about anybody, because not anybody is able to take on or be a part of that. This would have to be that person that you right. This would be that person that benefits. You guys have already. You're talking. You get a real conversation from day one. They've been honest. You've been honest, and you guys come to a conclusion that we can continue this honesty. We can continue this love. We can continue what we have going on. Furthermore, and we're good. And this isn't, like I said, not everybody can be that way. That's where this all boils down to. This whole conversation. You have to know, who you're talking to and who you're with. You have to be able to have those real conversations from day one. You have to. It's a must. And I'm talking for all people.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Is you as an individual should have a solid understanding of who you are, what you bring to the table, etc., before inserting a hall pass. Because if you do not, questions like, am I not enough, will come forward and marinate in prejudgment that is toxic to the relationship. And because that can happen, well, to switch it back a little bit, let's be honest here. Some people might reasonably say lots of people have sex with other people without even knowing it, so they're cheating behind their partner's back, right? So wouldn't that be more honest or more respectful than be open with each other? So for me, honestly, I would say no. And that sounds really, really weird, but I cannot live with the fact that knowing that my woman is out there having sex with someone else. I am very territorial. My ego is also very big. I do not want to walk around the street and some dude walks up to me and be like, hey, and I'm with my woman, and then he's be like, hey, did she do this to you too? See how I'm stuttering right now? I'm ready to fight.
But he don't want to do that though.
No, he don't want to do that.
They might.
Now she's going to say ground
It is a
rules
thing.
up front.
They will do that if they're picking at you.
Now,
yeah, you
my
never know.
husband's crazy. He knows about this,
Right.
but never confront him. She's going to lay those ground. Hopefully, she lays those ground rules.
Unless she's trying to start some
that's
stuff. You might be
hopefully,
dealing
but
with childish people. You don't know.
You don't know, and
You
we're
don't
living in
know.
Atlanta. Everybody ends up
Okay.
muting each other
So
anyway.
the question is, you would rather not do anything like that and you just both be faithful.
Yes.
Period.
Okay,
Period.
so it's not, you don't want to do it weird like, well, I can do what I want, but you can't do what you want.
Well, the thing is that it's that I want, But will I do it? Is the answer. I would not.
Okay.
Like I would want to because
you-
I'm a man, and of course I see
So
different
you
women.
want to
and
you
they're
want to
fine.
continue to scurry around in the dark like most men instead of and I did say that. I said most men because of the nature of men.
Well-
So what's happening? I'm looking here. What's happening is a lot of men, some ladies, are scurrying around in the dark because we're afraid to be honest in the beginning and have that particular conversation.
Yeah.
So
Done.
most men, not saying you're one of those men.
just-
No, I
Not
was
saying
about
you're-
to. I
yeah,
was
not
about
saying
to
you're
come
one of
back,
those
you know what I'm saying?
men. Not saying you're one of those men, but you say, are you just saying in your particular case, or you feel that that men in general, that none of us should ask or request a hall pass, or is that you're just talking about you specifically?
No, well, I'm talking me specifically and people like me.
Okay.
The thing is that the moment that you request an hall pass, you can expect something to happen because it's open, and because you can expect something to happen. If you're a man like me, who at night lays in the bed and start thinking about their day and week and all that, thinking about tomorrow, that will come into question in my mind, and I cannot go to sleep with that because the moment that she comes home from going out doing whatever, every time that she goes out, I'm thinking, oh, she might be with such and such, might be with such and such and such and such. I don't know. Like, anything can happen. So I'm not saying that I rather do everything in the dark. I'm saying that I might want to, but will I? Is no.
Okay.
Because I make a conscious decision to not do that. But I am a man, so I do think other females are attractive, and I might want to, but I will not.
But you refuse to.
Yes.
Right. I think men should have a hall pass and women shouldn't. But anyway, I mean, based on the science, I think men should have a hall pass. Women shouldn't. I think per science, men are able to have a sexual encounter and attach no feelings to it. I think women, more often than not, per the science, and while we're on it, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're going to ask. The website is Psychology Today. The article is on Psychology Today, and they polled 100 men and women, and the findings say that women attach feelings and emotion to sex more often than what men do. So I think a man can have a hall pass, come home, and not treat you any differently. His heart and his mind still be at home, and I think women, more often than not, cannot do that.
I agree, but I'm gonna play both sides of this way. For me personally, the way I feel like it's gonna work is what you're saying is true. It's all facts. There, men can go out and do whatever. Women will attach something eventually emotionally. So while I would prefer to just have it just me and one other person, I am open to the possibility if they can be open and honest with me. And I was having this conversation with Ash before. The way I know this would end up working for me is I'm gonna let you end up doing what you want to do as long as you're honest with me. But if I love you, I'm gonna end up sitting at home faithful, even though if I have the option to do it. I'll end up with nobody. And that sounds completely unfair, but I know how I operate. And that's because if I love one person, that's it. I'm not going to be interested in whoever else down the street.
That's
I'm not.
dope. But
That
can
sounds
you?
beautiful, yeah.
But can you? Here's the problem that I have with women. Sisters, I love each and every one of you, but stop owning. If your man goes out and he has a transgression and he's with another woman, don't own that. Right? What women do is the first thing they say is, "Was it my fault? What's wrong with me? Am I not good enough?" Ladies,
been down that road
understand.
many times.
Yeah, understand. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. You still dope, and I've said this on other shows.
That's
right?
hard to accept.
Yes, you're still dope. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the physical makeup of the man that you're with. He chose not to fight it. Every man fights it. Just like Tyrone just said, I may want to, but I will not. Right? Same here. I may want to, but I will not. He chose not to fight it. He didn't fight it. So since he did not fight it, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You're still phenomenal, right? You still the woman he came home to. You know, he still love you. He still love everything about you. Don't own it. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with his makeup. And that's what it is. That's the biggest problem I have, but I'm off my soapbox. All right, well, family, that was a dope conversation, and we'll be right back. All right, team, we're back. Let's get a little bit more of this hall pass. Ladies, what do y'all think about it? This hall pass.
So I feel like this. Like I said, you're running around here saying, "Oh, men should have it, not women." But at the end of the day, what I do feel like is that yes, it's a makeup of a man. Yes, women should definitely understand and take that into account when you are having those conversations at the beginning of the relationship. And definitely take on the fact that if you are going to proceed with the manner where you have to give hall passes and things of that nature, then you need to understand that with that being said, you can't necessarily be like, because it's the makeup of a man, this is how I feel like it should go. Because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get too many women that are going to accept that. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to let you have a hall pass. You can run around, because that's the and I just sit here at home. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be a thing. The women are not, they're just as territorial as men. They want to know at the end of the day, not if it's just them, because I mean that definitely plays in the back of our brain, like, oh, is it me?
Oh yeah.
But it's also a thing as if he can do it, why can't I? Then
At least have the option is what it comes into if you wanted to. Like I said, I probably would not. That's just, I'm not going to end up doing it.
Because you're honest.
But, yes.
You're honest.
But it's like, I just
she
know
wasn't.
me.
She wasn't. I mean, you just said, if you can do it, why can't I? And I told you, the numbers say that you'll get attached and end up messing up the household. A man won't.
But not
We
all
won't
men
mess up our
won't.
home.
Not all men won't.
Men
though.
won't.
If you say so,
Men and women
I can
cheat
only
for
take
different
what
reasons.
you say.
It's
Okay.
just a thing.
I
is.
honestly think that it comes down to, like I said, within yourself. Are you able to handle it as a woman? If you are, then that is fine, but then you should then also be okay with the guidelines and saying that you cannot. If you're not fine with that, that means nobody should do it.
That's fair.
That's what it is.
I disagree.
I kind of still go, I know it sounds terrible. I go back to my theories. Like, if he can be honest with me, I can accept that. As long as I have the option too. So that means you can't be upset if I do, but more than likely, knowing myself, I won't. As long as you're honest. I know this sounds really messed up, but I know myself and I'm comfortable with myself. I'm not going to force myself to do something I don't want.
Right.
Just because, like, oh, well, he's doing it, I'm going to go out here too.
But
That's
you know
not
your
gonna work.
makeup, right?
I
You
do.
know your makeup, and you know that that's nothing. I can't handle that.
Yeah.
But with the rules that he and I have established, he can do this and be okay. And as long as the love doesn't change at home, I'm okay with it.
As long as I'm still happy and I still feel 100% loved, I can work with it. As long as he tells me to. That's the other thing. It can't be, a lot of people say they just don't want to know. I need to know, because whoever you're sleeping with is sleeping with me too now. I need to know. I don't want all the details now. I don't want to know that she got 47.5 pumps or nothing like that. I don't need to know. That's extra. I don't want to know how many pumps she getting.
Right.
I don't want to know that you had her bent over in some crazy position that I can't do.
Okay.
I don't want to know all that. I just need to know, okay, y'all using protection? Y'all good? Okay, cool.
Right.
So
That's all I want to know.
So understanding his facts, I'm speaking up for what you were saying.
Right.
I had a relationship before the relationship. Now I had a relationship with 2 women. In the beginning, everybody was happy. After that, somebody wanted to play number 1 and somebody wanted to play number 2. When that happens, it's toxic. Because now they're both looking for attention from the same man. From the same man. And we can divide our attention equally, but the moment that you're starting to request more from one and then not from the other, then now it becomes, hey, labels. You're the main and you're the side, or you're the number 1 and you're number 2. And that's where it becomes complicated. That's why my relationship stopped, because I was like, I'm good with everything. I'm taking y'all both out to eat. We're having a good time. We're doing this, we're doing that together. But now one comes to say, oh, I just want to sleep with you tonight.
Well,
Or whenever you sleep. So go ahead, sorry.
But just to kind of jump in, for what you're talking about to work, it has to be a 3-person relationship.
Yes.
It can't be, I go out with her tonight, I'll go out with her tomorrow night, because somewhere in there, the balance is messed up. So it's a relationship between the 3 of you for that to work. That means we go out to eat together. We go to the movies together. We do these things together.
But we're living in a
Making
world
a
where you're
balance.
not always going to be together.
No.
So it could be
but I'm
that
saying that's something
you're
that
going
has to
out,
be
yeah.
everybody. But that means they got to spend time together too.
And
They
this
should,
is what
yeah,
it
they
comes
should.
down to where I began with the conversation at the beginning. Unconditional love, understanding, and communication. Because at the end of the day, if you cannot have those things and y'all can't come together like that, then none of these things are going to work. Because just like you said, with having a hall pass, I would have to be in a place that I'm comfortable within my own skin, within my own self. You've already had this conversation with me. We've already talked about it. We were comfortable with it. I don't have to know details. I don't have to be, but now I don't have the trust issue. Just like with your situation, if you had two women and y'all started off good, it started off good because everybody was in the same communication. Everybody was cool. The moment that somebody's switch went off, that's when everything started to crumble.
Yes.
But if in between that, when her switch went off, she should have came to you and the other woman and been like, look, I'm starting to feel some type of way about certain things. And then y'all could have all sat down together and had a conversation. And then y'all could have proceeded to see if y'all were going to keep on going in the direction y'all were going, or y'all should have went different ways. And these all things, that's why I started with what I said at the beginning of it all. Having the proper communication and understanding, and then unconditionally loving yourself so that you can unconditionally love the other person.
Right.
100%.
I agree with that. But to Tyrone's point though, that may be why a hall pass is maybe a little bit better for more people, because a hall pass is not a relationship. You're not dividing your time. You're not really taking a person out to dinner. You're still giving all of your time to your spouse or your mate at home, right? Yeah. Your hall pass is just simply, I went out, I kicked it, I had a good time. That was it. You know, me and the hall pass went to Vegas. I kicked it for the weekend. I'm back. You don't have to worry about her no more probably the next year, right? Because we get maybe one hall pass a year, maybe, right? Or whatever.
Whatever your stipulations, however you work that out in your agreement.
Whatever your stipulation is in the house or the relationship, right? So if you get one hall pass a year, that's it for this year. You're done, right? But whatever that is,
February 29th. February 29th. That's what you get.
That's it.
That's why
February 29th. Every 4
I go back to I go back
Better
to
make it good.
I love the Will and Jada, their dynamic, because like she said, I'm not policing him, he ain't policing me. I'm telling you, when you guys have that freedom, when you have that comfortability, you guys are in one, y'all are in sync, and none of that stuff matters, then you don't have to worry about all those little what year, what moment, what day and time. You don't have that. You just have, I love this person.
And this person loves me. And there's no doubt in my mind.
It's a very rare situation.
It is.
So that's why everybody says they want the Will and Jada love. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's very rare. I still think that a lot of people cannot live for that, though.
I agree.
I really
the world
think,
needs to work on.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't programmed and conditioned to be able to deal with life that way.
That's
right?
correct.
We weren't. So it would be a struggle for our generation, you know, but maybe generations after us could learn to be able to handle things a little bit differently. But I really think if we continue things the way they are, I think we're going to continue to struggle with relationships. I think the divorce rate in the United States will continue to be what it is. And those countries where they allow polygamous relationships will have a better marital rate than what we have.
I think in relationships, a lot of people just look at other people for advice on how things should be. And that's the wrong thing to do.
You can't compare your relationships to someone else's.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what everybody tends to do. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. I had exes used to do it all the time, like, oh, well, my friends, blah, 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 they're married, and they don't do this. I'm like, we're not them.
This is why you get these hashtag relationship goals.
Yes.
Have your own relationship goal and just keep it pushing.
Right.
But my goal is to just be happy. I want to be happy. That's it.
Exactly.
That's the goal. Happiness. Happiness and freedom.
Yes.
That's it, family. We'll be right back. So welcome back, family. We'd like to thank you guys for joining us for another great conversation with She Say, He Say. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You know, I hope everybody here enjoyed it. So you enjoyed it?
Always.
So check it out, man. Continue to come back. Look forward to next week. We're going to drop another hot one for you. Thank you all for joining us, and good night.
Good night.
All right.